Bienvenidos a Cordkillers de los Reckonings. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we're just trying to find out how to watch what we want, whenever we want, where we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Brian, where's the good stuff?
Oh my gosh, it's all around us in Austin, Texas, where it's finally actual fall. No more false fall. It's amazing.
You have your leaves have changed?
Well, hold on. Now you're getting all fancy. You got them live oaks.
So you have autumnal colors, do you, Brian?
No, not so much. But man, we get a lot of fake outs every year, and they're finally over with, and it looks like we will not see 90 degrees for the rest of this year.
They call those Indiana summers.
No, you almost got me, Tom.
Yeah, we are hot in Los Angeles. Not as hot as we have been, but it's 83 right now. So let's just cool things off with a cool supply run.
Supply run.
Netflix added 5.1 million subscribers last quarter for a total of 282.7 million. That just about met expectations. Actually beat it by a small amount. The ad-supported tier rose 35%. That tier accounted for more than 50% of signups in the markets where it's available. This is the second to last earnings report that will include subscriber numbers. They're going to focus on revenue starting next year. Regarding AI, Ted Sarandos said, "It's very important." Thank you, Ted. Oh, no, he said more than that. He said, "It's very important, I think, for creators to be very curious about what these new tools are and what they can do, but AI needs to pass a very important test. Can it help make better shows and better films? That is the test, and that's what we've got to figure out." Now, we've got stuff on bundles and limited theatrical release and more, but let's start with that one first, Brian. This seems reasonable.
Well,
it's a tool. Does it make the shows better? Great. How do you measure that, though?
I find it curious the way people even talk. Tell me you're not actually using AI without telling me you're not actually using AI. You know, it's like just the very phrasing of that. Like, can it do a good show? It's like anybody who's used AI for the last year knows it's like, that's a silly question. Whatever it spits out,
hold on. He didn't say, can it do a good show? Because that is a silly question. He said, can it make better shows and better films? Which, if you interpret it as, can the thing do it on its own, is a silly question. But I sort of took it as, can people use it in their arsenal of tools, and thus we have better shows and better films because they have that as a tool in their tool belt. Well, I know that's not exactly what he said, but that would make it make more sense.
I mean, it's like, I don't think you could name a single aspect of production at any level that AI can't immediately have an obvious benefit to. Catering, got it, yeah. Hey, brainstorm 7, create a meal plan for this many actors, this many, whatever. Casting, direction, cinematography.
But remember, Ted Sarandos isn't talking to you, Brian Brushwood, technical optimist. He's talking to everyone else who's like, AI is evil. AI is going to ruin movies and TV. You shouldn't use it, Ted Sarandos. And he's like, hold on. What if it makes things actually better? That's the test.
Well, and that's the point that I was getting to, is that it's such a reductionist thing to say that it's clearly disingenuous. Like, I believe it's press release talk.
It is press release talk. So yeah, for sure. But I think it's press release talk that he has no choice but to make, because the other option he has, if in his investor call, if he doesn't want to lose investors, is say, we're not going to use that stuff. Right. And clearly that would actually, I don't even think he could get away with that, because several investors would be like, why not? You're going to lose your competitive advantage if you do that. So he has to say, we're going to use it, but we're going to use it wisely. And that's kind of what he's saying.
That actually opens up an interesting thread that we can chase, which is the careful phrasing makes me think that he's reacting to, it bubbles up the question in my mind, how much of a stigma is there still around AI in the creative arts? Like,
a lot. Huge.
Exactly, right? So big that famously punk rock, devil may care, get bent Hollywood Netflix finds themselves tiptoeing around the subject and very delicately saying, oh, use it, not use it. Oh, who knows? Who knows? If it makes good movies and people don't lose their mind when they find out we're using it, then maybe definitely we'll use it.
We have a SAG-AFTRA agreement that allows us to use it, so we're going to use it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that's a bit, the phrasing is so ridiculously disingenuous that we're seeing through the kimono.
Okay.
Entirely.
How about this though? How about this as one last attempt at a counter? The other direction is we're going to use lots of AI. We have good agreements and AI will make everything we do better. We're going to use it in everything.
Well,
and as somebody who's used the tools, you know very well, like, well, it isn't good at absolutely everything. It's good at some things. And when it's good at those, you should use it and it could improve things. So he may be like balancing the optimist, the over optimistic people in the investor world to be like, we're not going to just do hype, and throw, a 10-second AI generated clip in every show, whether it makes sense or not. We're going to use it where it makes sense.
Right. So I guess maybe we're, this is interesting because it brings in kind of a multipolar discussion, because you're right. Like what he said was basically, let's go all the way to the left side, which is, AI, if it makes, or you could say, we'll never use AI, or you could say, we'll shove AI where it doesn't belong. Both of those would be foolish. That's left and right or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you got the slider where what I want to hear is extreme center in the middle, all the way up to 11 saying, I don't understand why you're even asking me about AI. It's a tool. What do? We tell great stories and we use the tools available to us.
Yeah. See, he should have had you write the press release because I love that.
Right.
Move.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's a hardline, sensible position to take. And it proclaims Netflix to have a dog in the AI fight, which instead he went all the way to South and said, my name is Paul, and this is between y'all. AI, I hardly knew her.
Yeah, and better than what I would have done, which is like, what AI? AI means 100 million different things. Which one are you talking about? Are we talking about deep learning or machine learning or large language models or multimodal or foundation or, like.
Right. And then if you did answer that way, then, headline, CEO Tom Merritt, why won't he answer the question? He's dodging the question.
Exactly. All right, let's get on to limited theatrical release. Netflix, very famous for not doing 90-day windows, not doing any windows, at most doing a couple of days windows here and there. Sarandos said, our top 10 films that premiere on Netflix all have over 100 million views, among the most watched films in the world. It's our desire to keep adding value to our consumers for their subscription dollar. We believe that not making them wait for months to watch the movie that everyone's talking about adds that value.
Now, that is a well-practiced, well-honed, in-your-face, like they are saying, go ahead and make this the headline of your article. In-your-face theater owners.
Yeah. And not terribly surprising, but with Apple sort of changing its strategy on what goes into theaters and what's not, I assume that's why they got the question. Are you going to loosen up on this at all? No, the answer is we're not. And then bundles. Everybody's bundling. We've been talking about all the bundles. Cable TV is even bundling streaming services. Sarandos said, streaming services which lack our breadth of content are increasingly looking to bundle their offerings, selling and discounting their services together, channel offerings, etc. Netflix is already an extraordinary package of series and films, licensed and original, and increasingly games and live events, all in one place for one price, easy to use, and great value for the money.
I agree.
In case you didn't get it, Brian, no effing way do we want to do a lot of bundles.
Yes. Okay. Well, I mean, yes, that definitely tracks. I don't know how to, that's an argument that I guess is more investor side, right?
Yeah, probably. The investors are wondering like, oh, are you going to do deals? And are you going to get subscription increases from deals? And he's saying, no, we don't need to do that. Although Netflix does do bundling. They just do it in a different way. They are an add-on on like mobile carriers where your Netflix subscription is now included with your T-Mobile subscription, stuff like that.
And cable providers, right? We've talked about that.
There are some cable providers who sell Netflix. I don't know that they include it in a package.
Okay.
Whereas I know the mobile service carriers will pay for it for you. Jury, hold that thought in case I'm wrong, but I think all of the cable TV deals will let you add on Netflix to your existing subscription.
This is one of the downsides of covering this beat in the way we do for so long. Is we like to speculate. We like it when we turn out that we're right. But sometimes there's well-rehearsed fantasy scenarios we've had where we've wondered about what could happen. And now it's tough to instantly recall which one of them came to pass and which ones did not.
Yeah, exactly. Also, the company told investors on Thursday that it was working to improve our monetization by refining our plans and pricing. In other words, in investor speak, don't worry, we're raising the price. We'll make more money. It has already increased prices in Japan and parts of Europe, the Middle East and Africa over just the last month. And Italy and Spain are getting price hikes this week. I'll be honest, Brian, this really says to me like Netflix is doing fine. Everybody who said, oh, if they crack down on passwords, it's going to blow up in their face. Oh, if they keep raising prices, everybody's going to cancel. None of that has happened.
Well, and so you'll notice that the closest to any kind of defense they played was by clumsily announcing that they don't intend to wade into the AI debate. Everything else that they said just radiates quiet confidence and they've arrived. I mean, they've arrived for quite a while, but they are the blue chippiest of all the blue chip stocks in this regard. And in terms of money, am I right in this half-remembered factoid that YouTube has never been profitable, but it's such a good loss leader for Google or Alphabet?
That used to be true. I do not think that is true anymore because of the advertising boom on YouTube.
Okay. But still, like, Netflix, definitely profitable, definitely making money, has been for a long time. And now they truly are Red Hulk. Go see the Thunderbolts.
But anyway, yeah, Netflix doing okay. If you were worried, I don't know if any of you were worried, but
I mean, there was a time, remember the Quickster era when they were losing their minds and their stock prices were down.
Stock prices were down, but I don't know that Netflix ever really was worried about itself. You know what I mean?
I agree. I mean, I remember in the early days, we pointed out that, look, they didn't call the business video discs in the mail. They called it Netflix.
Yeah, right. What we should call our Patreon is Cordkillers Not in the Mail.
Or we could call it patreon.com/Cordkillers, the one place that you should go to keep us loud, live, and independent, where we give exclusive bonus content, including our After Talk segment, including Spoiler in Time, which... ooh, what a mystery. Will we or will we not talk more about only murders in the building? We will not. But you'll learn a harrowing tale as to why we will not, as well as we also talk about other stuff. You, of course, also get early access to the full experience and so much more. Keep us going, beautiful people. Patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Let's move on to the search party. We got some New York Comic-Con announcements out of Paramount. It seems like Paramount likes to make their Star Trek announcements in New York Comic-Con for some reason. I've noticed that happen a few times. Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3 has a teaser We still don't have a specific date yet. We just know it's coming next year. But there's a teaser that has a scene from one of the upcoming episodes that's a battle scene. And then the announcement that Rhys Darby of Flight of the Conchords and Our Flag Means Death.
He was also the voice of Corrin and Voltron.
Right. He is going to join the Strange New Worlds cast.
So I had a very surreal experience watching this sneak peek preview because I was watching MASH, which we're talking about for the full experience, and I was remarking, this is a slight jumping ahead, but the production values on the very last episode of MASH were a significant increase, and I was noticing how good the production was for this 1970s era show. And then I jump over to this modern day story of the time frame from the 1960s version of Star Trek, where it's got a little bit of all these nods to the retro or whatever. But because I had primed my brain to be amazed at the MASH, it was like I leapt 50 years in the future, and I was like, my gods, how does this wizardry work? I'm on the Enterprise.
How is this even possible? Did they shoot this in space?
It looked like, because we're going to talk about how MASH kind of looks like a movie quality thing of the era, and it's like, this is better than any movie I've ever seen.
Indeed. Also, Star Trek Section 31 got a premiere date. We'll get that on January 24th. If you don't recall, this is Emperor Philippa Georgiou, played by Michelle Yeoh. The character she played in Star Trek Discovery has left and joined Section 31. That's what the movie is about. And Section 31 is I think it's the origin story of Section 31, tasked with protecting the United Federation of Planets.
And Section 31 is like a Black Ops division of Starfleet, no questions asked.
Does the dirty work that the UFP can deny any knowledge of kind of stuff, which is perfect for a alternate universe evil emperor to join. And it's a movie. So it's not a series. It's a one-off movie. Again, coming on January 24th. Finally, Star Trek Starfleet Academy has been renewed for season 2. And if you're like, oh crap, I missed season 1. No, you didn't. In fact, they haven't even scheduled a premiere date for season 1, but they love it so much, they've already scheduled season 2. This is a spin-off of Star Trek Discovery as well, starring Tig Notaro, national treasure, Tig Notaro, Robert Picardo, who played the emergency medical hologram in Discovery. Oded Fehr and Mary Wiseman, also Star Trek Discovery characters, will reprise their roles from those shows. So it looks like it's Starfleet Academy, but set far in the future where Star Trek Discovery ended.
Dude, I'm in. I'll just, if only I had infinite time, Tom.
Indeed. And finally, this also out of New York Comic Con, but not from Paramount. Daredevil Born Again has a premiere date. So this is sort of a reboot of the Netflix Daredevil. It is going to come to Disney Plus March 4th.
Still Charlie Cox, right?
Still Charlie Cox, still Vincent D'Onofrio.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, his Kingpin is amazing.
The Dune prequel series, Dune Prophecy, has finally gotten a release date. The first episode will release on HBO and stream on Max Sunday, November 17th, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. Man, and there's a trailer too.
The marketing for Dune always keeps sneaking up on me. I can't believe it's this close, right around the corner. I don't think I've seen a lot of buzz about this. Have you? They've had a couple of teasers, and there was some worry about whether it was going to happen, and there was some writers' room shakeups earlier on. But this trailer is the first one I looked at, and I was like, oh, this feels like Dune. This feels like Denis Villeneuve's Dune world. So yeah, might end up being good, and we won't have to wait not even a month to find out. Cool.
Have you heard much about Slow Horses on Apple TV Plus?
I've heard universal acclaim for it. It's one of those that whenever the general party chatter is about, what shows are good. I always hear it thrown in the mix, but at this point, for the life of me, I couldn't tell you much about it.
Slow Horses has been renewed for season 6.
That's too many seasons, Tom. That's a lot.
Season 4 just had its finale last week. So first when I saw renewed for season 6, I'm like, really? Has this thing been out that long? But no, season 4 just ended. Season 5 was already in the works, but they did the thing where they're like, yeah, we're going to renew it for 2 seasons from now, even though season 5 isn't even done shooting yet. The first trailer for Wallace and Gromit's return to the small screen came out. Vengeance Most Foul is the first full-length feature film in the Wallace and Gromit world in 19 years. Will premiere on BBC One and iPlayer at Christmas and then come to Netflix outside of the UK.
Very cool. That's one of those always around, Wallace and or Gromit.
Yep. Netflix has a trailer for the adaptation of Simon Stålenhag's The Electric State. Did you watch this trailer?
No, I didn't have time to watch the trailers, but reading the description, I was just like, well, that's kind of wacky. A retro future in 1990s? That's ... 30 years ago, Brian. That's like, you know how you like 1960s retro future? That's how long ago that was.
That's the 90s now. Also, Stålenhag, I'm not familiar with the style, but I get it after watching the trailer. And apparently there are fans of that style of retro futurism already. Also, quite a team. Directed by Anthony and Joe Russo. The Russo brothers, the Avengers folks, set in an alternate retro-futuristic version of the 90s, exploring life in a society where sentient robots resembling cartoons and mascots who once served peacefully among humans now live in exile after a failed uprising. So there's some, shots of robots with smiley cartoon faces like lumbering through a war scene, stuff like that. And the cast includes Millie Bobby Brown, Chris Pratt, Ke Huy Quan, Jason Alexander, Woody Norman, Giancarlo Esposito, Stanley Tucci. And then for the robots, you get voice work from Woody Harrelson, Anthony Mackie, Brian Cox, Jenny Slate, Hank Azaria, Coleman Domingo, and Alan Tudyk.
Man, it just feels like this is a good idea. It just needs a little bit of star power to get off the ground. But,
it was interesting they went with no names for this one. Yeah.
You know what? Maybe it'll turn into something.
Maybe. I'm fascinated with this. It hits Netflix in March, though. We've got a ways to wait. March 14th, 2025. You heard me talk about Culinary Class Wars a few weeks ago on Netflix, the cooking show. It has been renewed for a second season as Netflix. The show ranked number 1 on Netflix's global top 10 TV for non-English for 3 consecutive weeks. So it got a worldwide following. So they're going to do another season of it.
Dude, hearing you two talk about this show has me very, very curious.
If you didn't hear me talk about it before, the idea is that they start with 100 chefs, which is a little bit of a ruse because they very quickly cut it down to 40. Or is it even 20? I think it might be 20. But they very quickly cut it down. But the idea is that, no, it's 40 because you've got 20 like Michelin star, Beard Award winner of Iron Chef that are in white coats, and then 80 popular chefs, but maybe they're not well known. Maybe they haven't won any awards, but they're, sort of the working class chefs versus the elite chefs. And you're seeing them compete with each other to win the culinary class war in the end. I won't spoil how it goes, but it's a fun watch if you watch like these kinds of shows. It's well done. Apple TV Plus is stepping up to the plate for a 3-part docuseries on the 2024 World Series. That pun came from Variety, not me. I'm just reading what they wrote.
Which would be the greater crime? Well, I was going to say, like, what should you have done? Should you have stolen credit for the pun, or?
Yeah, I didn't want people to think that I wrote that and give me either credit or detriment, either one.
Yeah, so you just pulled a Ted Sarandos and refused to engage with the pun controversy.
If it's the right pun for the job, we'll use it. Anyway, Apple TV Plus and baseball cozying up a little more. And we know those regional sports network rights are percolating out there. We know Major League Baseball would like to seize most of them back for their own service. We know Apple likes to, bond with a service and maybe offer it entirely through Apple TV Plus like they did with Major League Soccer. So just a little piece of the puzzle there to keep an eye on. Finally, Amazon announced it will stream live U.S. election coverage on Amazon Prime. So getting into the live news coverage business at one of the biggest news events every 4 years in the world starts at 5 p.m. November 5th and hosted by former NBC News anchor Brian Williams, as we heard might happen.
Unfortunately, nobody will be tuning into this because nobody wants to watch it because everybody is going to be watching the politics coverage here in this studio.
Sure. Yeah. But it's fun that they're going to try.
I mean, you know what? Maybe it'll turn into something for them.
Maybe, yeah. Everyone else is going to be watching Justin Robert Young. But, maybe some
they couldn't get some star power.
Yeah. No, in all seriousness, you should watch Politics stream, not this. Also, I think it's interesting to see Amazon Prime take a little toe step into news. And probably wise to get a slightly controversial, but not really that controversial Brian Williams. So it makes people pay attention and at least remember they're doing it.
Yeah, I think it's a smart fit all the way around. I think they got the infrastructure, considering that Amazon has most of the servers everybody runs everything on.
Yeah,
they don't have to worry about.
I'm not worried about the live stream going down. I don't know. It's people like election coverage. I think what they're betting is if you're among the folks who are just tired of the rhetoric on NBC and Fox, and you don't want to go to CBS or ABC for some reason, and CNN bothers you, actually politics is the best place.
Also, this is a uniquely good event because let's say you don't follow politics. Let's say you don't treat it like, nerd sports ball. I said sports ball. I'm not supposed to say that anymore. But if you turn on your TV, if you blow the dust off of your cable box or whatever, and you're like, okay, I'm going to watch, then all of a sudden, because even the news sources themselves have been so politicized, it's like, Amazon's coverage is the only clean slate that you get. It's just like it's Jubilee for baggage on your news source.
Yeah. But much more boring than Justin Robert Young. Just saying. All right, let's move on to the buried treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
This is the section of the show where we talk about something we've been watching lately. Brian, what have you been watching lately?
Tom, I've been watching so many different shows on top of all the shows that we watch for this program. I certainly haven't been busy with the run up to the busiest time of the entire year in my camp. You know what? I officially have too many movies, television shows, you name it, that I've watched. So I'll just pretend that I didn't watch all those, and I'll pretend that I'm still plowing through The Wire, and I'm finally going to wrap it up this week.
How's it going with that? Are you digging it like in the same way that you were when you couldn't stop when we did it for the full experience?
I mean, to be honest, and again, we're going to talk about MASH in a bit, but it's like I understand what other people felt for MASH. I am experiencing with The Wire, watching it again. I started off, on fire with it, and I ended up with a simmer, like 40 minutes of an hour-long episode every night, and I've just been, that's part of my wind down. But I just got to the part, spoiler alert, statute of limitations is passed, where Bodhi got killed, and I just was so mad. I was just like, this game, Bodhi deserved better.
Yeah.
For the crime of having lunch with McNulty, they put a bullet in his head. It's a great show. I forgot, it is so unbelievably hard. It was so hard for me to get into, and it takes so long to get to know all of the characters. But my goodness, I remember there was a poster of 50 drawings of characters, and I could name every single one and tell you who was alive and where they ended up. It was like a family reunion. It's insane.
That's awesome. And kind of, in a way, what the full experience, I think, is meant to do for everybody, right? Like, you listen to our 4 episodes, maybe you watch them along with us, and then you go, hold on, that sounds great. I actually want to experience the entire series. Or, that's great, I don't think I need to experience the entire series now, right? It could do
I can't think of a single example that we're going to talk about today where that might be the case, Tom.
Well, you would be forgiven for thinking that I haven't watched anything because I have a 6-month-old puppy with a broken toe, and that's all I'll ever talk about if you let me talk for any length of time. But that's not true at all. I watch lots of television that isn't just baseball. I just decided, Brian, that I want to highlight a YouTube show. Okay.
Oh, good.
It's because I'm generous. That's why I'm highlighting this YouTube show. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's calming and enjoyable and easy to watch while a puppy is chewing on a wooden piece of something while you hold it and it's teething. It is Cecilia Blumdahl. She lives in Svalbard. Longyearbyen, Svalbard, which is one of the farthest northern settlements in the planet, right? So it's a place that has no trees, like just permafrost. They have the long polar night, the long polar day during the season, and they pretty much have to import almost everything. And so it's just her and her partner's life in their house and like what it takes to run the house, because they have electricity from the village, but they don't have water from the village. And there's, various things that they have to do to make that work. Then hilariously to us, they have a getaway cabin that's even more primitive than the house that doesn't have its own, like has to have a battery and a generator for electricity. And they can't get to it through part of the year because the port freezes over. And there's a part of the year where you can't snowboard to it because there's not enough snow yet. But the port has frozen over, so you can't sail to it. So the only way to go would be to walk for days. And so their latest video was them shutting down the cabin for the 2-month break where they won't be able to get to it. Anyway, it's fascinating. It's fascinating stuff. And Cecilia does a great job hosting it. She's a really good YouTube host. So if you're interested in kind of a cozy, watch of how someone lives in a one of the more remote but still municipal settlements. They have hotels and restaurants.
Is this an American settlement or what?
No,
country?
It's I believe it's Norway or Finland.
Okay.
Now I'm forgetting. She's Swedish and he's Norse.
Okay.
Of the couple. Svalbard is Norwegian. It is a Norwegian property.
Man, that sounds like on the one hand, I don't know, it's like watching a vlogger from the moon practically.
Yeah, no, it's great. And she's just perfectly personable and talking about making coffee. And he is a former chef. So he'll do this is what these are the pork chops I'm making in the cabin that has no power or running water or anything. It's fascinating. So go check it out. Her name's Cecilia, Cecilia, and you probably do Cecilia Svalbard and find it. Her last name is Blumdahl, Blomdahl. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com. I mentioned that I talk about my dog too much, but if you're like, Tom, I'm one of the few people who doesn't think you talk about your dog enough, you could subscribe to a newsletter that includes pictures of my dog every week.
Wait, every single week?
Pretty much every week these days. Yeah. It's not just about the dog. It's about what I've done throughout the week. So this week I was talking about the experiment we ran on Daily Tech News Show on Friday and how nervous I was about that, about our upcoming trip. I do music picks, TV picks, and these days, weekly pictures of Seven the dog.
That's amazing. Where can I go to get this newsletter?
freetomnewsletter.com. It's free. It's from me, and it's a newsletter, so it's easy to remember. Free.
Are you thinking about offering a premium, Tom? I guess it's everything behind the Patreon.
Actually, freetomnewsletter.com is going to be free for the foreseeable future. But if you do pay to subscribe to that Substack, I have been releasing chapter by chapter one of my novels that I've never published anywhere else. So you can get The Hungry Earth if you do that.
Very cool.
Yeah, check it out. freetomnewsletter.com. Let's scan the horizon.
Send a scanning to avoid.
Scanning the horizon!
The largest U.S. cable TV provider is planning a major marketing push next year to promote more than 10 streaming services that it will offer at no additional cost to customers. This is Charter Cable. So we have been talking about this. The cable companies reselling streaming services, bundling in streaming services. Charter has said the streaming services it will offer in its base package, so it's going to do Peacock, it's going to do Disney Plus, would collectively cost $65 a month. It's going to have 10 streaming services along with the cable channels. They say it would cost you $65 a month just to do the streaming services, but you're also going to get cable TV from us. Spectrum is typically around $120 a month for more than 150 channels. So you're going to pay more than the cost of streaming these on your own. But then what they're hoping is that you'll take the fact that you now get cable, and with cable, you can do logins on the apps for all the cable channels that aren't on these streaming services. And Charter says it plans to sell Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, and Apple TV Plus separately. So the way you pay to add on HBO to a cable subscription, you'd be able to pay extra to add on Netflix, Prime Video, and Apple TV Plus. And those would also be marketed to their internet customers as well, if people want to just tack it on to the extra bill.
We did a deep dive on this, trying to guess exactly what all the perils are. Of course, the move that they're making is promising everyone it's going to be okay, but of course, incentives are aligned to make the promise, but not necessarily no incentives to keep the perfect maintenance of those channels on there.
Yeah. So to start next year, because first of all, they want to get all the deals in place. Second of all, they don't want to compete with holiday shopping when you're going to have big pushes from Disney Plus and Netflix to get people to subscribe. So that's why they're pushing it off to next year. But they're going to make a big retention push. They are positioning this as we want to keep people subscribed to cable by giving them the streaming services that they might otherwise cancel cable and go subscribe to.
Yeah.
ESPN chairman Jimmy Pitaro told the USC Next Level Sports Conference that ESPN's direct-to-consumer streaming service will include the full programming lineup of ESPN Plus. This is not a shock. I assumed they would include ESPN Plus in this, but they confirmed it and also mentioned that it is expected to launch next year. There will also be a customized version of SportsCenter. This to me was the most interesting thing he said. You'll be able to say, here are my favorite sports or teams, or maybe you already have on your ESPN profile, and then you will get a sports center that will feature the stories about those sports and those teams. ESPN will also launch inside Disney Plus before the end of this year with a sampling of sports content. So the way they added Hulu, they're going to add an ESPN channel as well, but it won't be all of ESPN stuff.
Now that's really interesting. Because I wonder if a highly tailored experience undercuts one of the benefits of watching the news, even if it's sports news, is you find out the entire story, or there's a strong editorial voice because they select, like, these are the stories that we think merit telling. But now all of a sudden it subverts that if you do the customized experience. And now it's just like, I don't know. To me, I'm terrified at the thought of strutting around thinking I know what's going on and finding out that all the stories that I think are so important, nobody even knows about. It's, Yeah,
that is often a fear with the customization. Usually that's easily avoided by having a top stories section. Now, maybe you make that optional and people can get rid of it. But if you have a top stories section that's always there to be like, these are the stories that are national headlines, these are the ones interesting to you, it does help with that, I think.
Yeah.
Nielsen's The Gauge is out. The Gauge always gives us the percentage of people viewing various services, as well as the percentage of people viewing the type of services. So this is how we've been following the rise of cord cutting. Amazon Prime Video up 12% from August, month over month. According to Nielsen, thanks not only to Thursday Night Football, as you would expect, but also to Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings. Rings of Power.
Get out of town.
Yeah. Enough people went back to Prime Video because of that.
That's 1 million down, 500 more to
go. Disney Plus hit a platform best 2.5% share of TV usage for September. That's up 5.2% month over month. That is attributed to Hulu being available on the platform. More people just started, like yourself, Brian, started watching Hulu stuff on Disney Plus. They also got a consistent boost from Bluey, which notched 4.2 billion minutes viewed this month, making it the 4th overall streaming title in September.
I believe that for sure. I've seen all of like 30 seconds of Bluey, and I'm like, oh, I get it now. Yeah, this is very clever. I understand.
And then Peacock got a boost from the NFL game it had broadcast from Brazil. Disney Plus, Peacock, Tubi, and the Roku channel all led the pack with more than 30% year-over-year growth. Roku came out on top with a whopping 42% year-over-year growth compared to last September.
That's big. That's big. And we've talked about those set-top boxes. And yes, for those of you guys, before you write us at cordkillers@gmail.com, we are going to do it's been a couple years since our last hardware roundup, so we owe you one of those.
Meta said Thursday it had teamed up with the Blumhouse Productions company, the folks behind The Purge and Get Out, on a new generative model called MovieGen. Blumhouse selected Anish Chaganty, the Spurlock sisters, and Casey Affleck to try out MovieGen and use clips generated by the tool in their short films. Chaganty's film is going to appear on Meta's website, where it highlights MovieGen, and then films from Affleck and the Spurlock sisters will come out later, and I assume they'll be featured there too, but they didn't say.
So in other words, this is the exact opposite of Ted Sarandos' position of like, we're going to shove AI in there regardless.
This is Meta getting directors to because Meta makes the tool. Netflix doesn't make a tool, right? They use the tools. In fact, watch for Meta to team up with Netflix or possibly Disney Plus or somebody else to be like, our tool is being featured in content on that platform. That's kind of where this is going, I think.
Yeah.
U.S. Federal Trade Commission adopted rules Wednesday called Click to Cancel. We talked about these before on the show. Requires businesses to offer customers a method for canceling a subscription in the same way they signed up. So if you sign up entirely online, the business can't make you call them to cancel. There are also some new rules about clearly disclosing the terms of a subscription and getting clear consent before starting to charge you. The rules will be published. I think by now they're published in the Federal Register and then have 180 days before they go into effect after publication.
Tom, sometimes it's important to be consistent in your beliefs. Like, for example, say the heavy hand of regulation involving itself in something about the way businesses run themselves. Having said, some of I had a rather controversial take about the use of the word buy and regulations about that. Yeah. Let me be clear. I love being a hypocrite. As Penn Jillette pointed out, when you're a hypocrite, you're either saying or doing something that the other people are going to like. So no matter what my words say, I am in favor. I'm very much looking forward to not having to do a side quest as a consumer in order to disentangle, because, of course, that's the whole reason we started this program.
And finally, Disney's Bob Iger. Remember, he left Disney. Bob Chapek took over. Then they got rid of Bob Chapek, brought Iger back. Iger's contract runs out December 31st, 2026. So he's got until then to find a successor. And Disney announced two things this week. James Gorman, the former CEO of Morgan Stanley, is now the chairman of the board at Disney. He will take over as chairman of the board January 2nd of 2025. He currently leads Disney's succession planning committee. Apparently, he's widely respected for being able to plan successions at other companies, including Morgan Stanley, where he's no longer CEO. And they said they will announce Bob Iger's successor in early 2026. So we'll know who they plan to take over from Iger in early 2026 if James Gorman gets his way.
Do you think that behind the scenes there's a strong, I mean, certainly there's a sense of urgency, but do you think that they're pretty far along in figuring out succession? Or do you think that it's going to come down to, much like our presidential election, the last minute, where it's like, psych, these are the candidates?
I don't know. I know this. Everybody thinks Iger is not good at planning successions now after the Chapek thing. So he clearly is not the main voice on this anymore. Everybody seems to love James Gorman and think, oh yeah, he'll come up with a great person. Saying we'll have it in early 2026 is a way to settle down investors from going, are we going to have a problem like we did with Chapek? To be like, nope, we're going to tell you early. He'll have all of 2026 to get up to speed with Iger before Iger's contract runs out. So they're settling investors. They're using someone who's widely respected for the succession. I don't know if that means they know who it is, though. It might not. They might still be casting around.
If I were in their position, I would keep a retinue of between 5 and 10 solid candidates, and just as long as you got a passel of them, you could decide last.
So you'd
minute.
have the equivalent of a murder board, but it's a succession board.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
All right, let's move on to the cheddar.
You've got mail.
Jeremy writes, Brian, I'm playing catch up and listening to Ep 518, the infamous pickleball episode. Jeremy has a lot of ideas. First of all, he thinks that the Netflix pickleball amusement park should be called Netflix and Thrill.
Not bad. That's the reason this one made the cut, is if nothing else, I want Netflix and Thrill to be an actual park.
All access membership pass that includes your Netflix subscription. Then mid-email says, forget pickleball at the theater. What I'd love is routine services that traditionally involve sitting in a waiting room for 45 minutes to an hour to include movies. So your oil changes, your cleaning and detailing, your tire rotations, your car is already going to go on the ride with you. Why not catch a movie while all that is done since you're out?
Sure. It's a little bit, I mean, it's like,
so he's saying replace pickleball with oil changes.
Well, no. I think he's saying bring this attitude to everything. Everything that's boring, make better.
make it fun. Good stuff, Jeremy. Thank you for the email. William writes, I'm constantly reminded how good a show Scrubs is. I think it would hold up very well to the full experience if you ignore season 9. I'm not sure how you should handle this show since season 9 was a reboot that they called season 9 for marketing reasons, but had new characters, new story, new setting, new standard of quality. It even has a subtitle indicating it as a spinoff, Scrubs: Med School. The problem is, if 9 is included, you'll have 2 episodes from season 9, the lowest rated and the last.
I got to tell you, this one made the cut because Scrubs is another one that I've heard a lot about. I've seen maybe 3 minutes about. And I have no problem just if the fans of that community declare something is not canon, we can go with that definition. But Scrubs may be a good fit, assuming everything is funny and good.
Yeah. We could dig into it. I assume if it's called Scrubs Med School, that we could make a provision that's like, oh, as soon as you add a subhead, that whether you call it season 9 or not, it's not part of the main line, and we just get rid of that.
Yeah.
Finally, Jeff writes, hello, killers. It's been interesting to hear your thoughts on MASH. One thing that isn't apparent by doing the full experience is how the tone of the show shifts over time, especially as characters are replaced. There was a lot more fraternizing between the doctors and the nurses in the early season. Hawkeye was single, but Trapper John, Henry Blake, and Frank Burns were all married, but showed little fidelity to their wives. As they were replaced with Sherman T. Potter, B.J. Honeycutt, and Charles Winchester, much of that casual infidelity went away. In fact, they even addressed B.J.'s guilt of having a moment of weakness and being unfaithful to his wife in a particular episode. Even Hawkeye's womanizing is toned down in later seasons.
Yeah, don't worry. We noticed the tonal shift.
Yeah, if anything, this may prove the full experience because a lot of that became more apparent, even though we only saw it in the last episode, because the last episode took longer to watch than the first 3 episodes in the full experience.
My God. You know what? Yet another crack in the full experience facade that we've discovered.
Never mind. I guess it's not.
It's more than twice. I guess 3 episodes at 26 minutes a pop.
Because I think the pilot was an hour. Just short of an hour. And then the other 2 episodes were 23 minutes. So yeah, the final episode definitely longer than
that's amazing.
First 3. Well, thanks everybody for watching or listening. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We are live at twitch.tv/Night Attack, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.